You know that feeling when you walk into your bank and the teller barely makes eye contact? They process your deposit with the enthusiasm of someone watching paint dry. And when you need help with an overdraft fee, suddenly everyone's on a lunch break. Meanwhile, you notice someone getting escorted to a private office, offered coffee, and treated like royalty. What is the difference? It is not about being a nicer person or dressing better. It is about hitting specific net worth numbers that flip a switch in how financial institutions see you. I am James, and I've spent years researching how the financial system really works, not how we're told it works. I've analyzed bank policies, interviewed wealth managers, and discovered the exact thresholds where your relationship with money institutions fundamentally changes. I share these insights because I believe everyone deserves to understand the game being played. If you are interested in learning the real rules of personal finance that nobody teaches you, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps me reach more people who need this information. Here is what most people don't realize. Banks operate on a tiered system that is mostly invisible to average customers. They categorize you into segments based on your total assets, and each segment unlocks completely different treatment, fees, products, and opportunities. I call these the banking privilege thresholds, and there are 3 critical numbers that change everything. Understanding these isn't about feeling bad about where you are right now. It is about knowing the roadmap so you can make strategic decisions to move up these levels faster than you thought possible. The first threshold sits at around $50,000 in total assets with the institution. This includes your checking account, savings, any CDs, and investment accounts held at that bank. When you cross this line, something shifts. You are no longer just another account number churning through basic transactions. At most major banks, this is where you start qualifying for relationship banking programs. Suddenly, those monthly maintenance fees that were eating $12 from your account every month waived. That overdraft fee that hit you for $35 when you miscalculated by $3? Many banks will reverse it as a courtesy when you call, something they'd never do for accounts below this threshold. Let me give you a real example. Sarah works in marketing, makes about $60,000 a year, and for years kept most of her money scattered across different banks, never more than $10,000 in any one place. She was paying monthly fees at 2 different banks, totaling about $300 a year just for the privilege of accessing her own money. When she consolidated her accounts and hit $52,000 at one institution, those fees disappeared. But more importantly, when she applied for a car loan, she got an interest rate a full percentage point lower than the standard rate. On a $30,000 car loan over 5 years, that 1 percentage point saved her over $800. The bank's system flagged her as a relationship customer, and suddenly she had negotiating power she didn't even know existed. Compare this to Michael, who kept his money spread thin and never hit any threshold. Same income bracket, same credit score, but when he got his car loan, he paid the standard rate. Over 5 years, he paid $800 more simply because the bank's computer system didn't categorize him as valuable enough to retain. Nobody told him this was happening. Nobody explained that consolidating his assets could have unlocked better terms. He just accepted what was offered because he didn't know the game had different levels. The second threshold is where things get really interesting. And it sits around $250,000 in total assets. This is where you enter what banks call private client or wealth management territory. The transformation here isn't subtle. You get assigned an actual dedicated banker, someone whose job is to keep you happy and keep your money at their institution. You get access to products that literally aren't advertised. To the general public, mortgage rates. You are often looking at 1/4 to 1/2 point below posted rates. That might not sound like much, but on a $500,000 mortgage over 30 years, a 1/2 point reduction saves you over $50,000 in interest. I spent time analyzing the experience of 2 different people buying homes in the same neighborhood at the same time. Jennifer had accumulated $280,000 in assets through diligent saving and inheriting some money from her grandmother. When she applied for her mortgage, she was immediately connected with a private banking officer who walked her through options most people never hear about. She got a rate of 6.25% when the advertised rate was 6.75%. The bank also waived about $1,500 in processing fees. Her monthly payment came out to about $200 less than it would have otherwise. David, buying a nearly identical house, had most of his net worth tied up in his 401k and about $40,000 in accessible accounts at the bank. Same credit score as Jennifer, similar income, but he got the standard rate and standard fees over the life of his mortgage. He'll pay about $60,000 more than Jennifer, purely because he didn't hit that threshold. Nobody did anything wrong? Nobody was discriminated against in any illegal way. The bank system simply offers different products to different asset tiers. And most people have no idea this is happening. But here is where it gets even more dramatic. The third threshold sits at around $1 million in investable assets. This is where you enter the world of family office services, dedicated wealth management teams, and truly preferential treatment. At this level, you are not just getting better rates. You are getting access to investment, opportunities that aren't available to retail investors, private equity deals, hedge funds with lower minimums, structured products designed to minimize taxes. Your wealth manager is incentivized to grow your wealth because their compensation is often tied to your portfolio performance. Let me break down what this looks like practically. Robert spent 20 years building a business and sold it for $8 million after taxes. He moved this money to a wealth management firm attached to a major bank. Within the first year, his advisor helped him restructure his assets in a way that reduced his tax burden by about $18,000 annually. He got access to a private equity fund that returned 14% that year, while the stock market returned 9%. That extra 5% on even half his portfolio meant an additional $45,000 in returns. His bank, in fees, essentially zero. In fact, the bank was paying him in the form of better returns and tax savings to keep his money with them. Contrast this with Lisa, who had built her net worth to about $400,000 through careful saving over her career. Excellent, discipline, smart choices, but she hadn't crossed that $1 million threshold. She had access to standard investment accounts, paid fees on her mutual funds, and her tax strategy was whatever her tax preparer suggested once a year. She wasn't doing anything wrong, but she simply didn't have access to the same financial infrastructure. The gap between her wealth growth and Robert's wasn't about intelligence or work ethic. It was about crossing a threshold. That unlocked entirely different tools. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds great, James, but I am nowhere near $50,000 in savings, let alone $1 million. I am trying to figure out how to save anything at all while rent keeps going up and my paycheck stays flat. This feels like information for people who already have money, not for someone like me. I hear you. And this is exactly why understanding these thresholds matters even more when you are starting out. Here is the thing. Knowing these numbers exist changes how you think about your financial strategy. Instead of spreading your money across 5 different banks because you opened accounts randomly over the years, you consolidate strategically. Instead of keeping everything and checking where it does nothing, you move it into savings or investment accounts at the same institution, where it counts toward your threshold. Instead of thinking a few $1,000s doesn't matter, you realize it is literally building toward a point where the system starts working for you instead of against you. Another concern I hear is that this feels rigged, like the system is designed to help people who already have money and keep everyone else down. You are not wrong. It absolutely is structured this way. But here is the reality. You can either complain about how the system works, or you can learn the rules and use them to your advantage. Every single person who is at that $1 million level today started somewhere lower. The difference is they understood the game and played it strategically. Some of you might be thinking about market volatility and risk. What if I consolidate everything and the market crashes? What if the bank fails? These are legitimate concerns. The key is understanding FDIC insurance, which covers up to $250,000 per depositor per bank. If you are approaching that threshold, you actually want to spread across institutions for safety. But for most people working toward that first $50,000 threshold, consolidation at one solid institution makes more sense for unlocking benefits. You are not putting all your eggs in one basket in a risky way. You are strategically positioning your assets to maximize the advantages available to you. So what do you actually do with this information? Let me give you concrete steps you can start taking today, regardless of where you are starting from. First, audit where your money currently sits. Pull up every bank account, every savings account, every small investment account you opened and forgot about. Write down the institution and the balance. You might be surprised to find you have more scattered around than you realized. I've seen people discover they had $18,000 spread across 7 different accounts, none of which were doing anything useful. Second, choose one primary institution strategically. Look at where you are closest to a threshold. If you have $30,000 spread across 3 banks, consolidating to one immediately gets you more than halfway to that first $50,000 threshold. Research which banks have the best benefits at each level. Some offer better perks for relationship banking than others. Credit unions often have lower thresholds for premium treatment. Do an hour of research and make an informed choice. Third, set up automatic transfers that build your balance consistently. Even if it is just $200 a month, that is moving you $2,400 closer to the next threshold every year. Combine that with any windfalls, like tax refunds or bonuses, and you'd be amazed how quickly you can move up. A person making $50,000 a year who saves 15% and consolidates their accounts can hit that first $50,000 threshold in about 4 years. Once you are there, the fee waivers and better rates actually accelerate your progress to the next level. Fourth, once you approach a threshold, schedule a meeting with a banker and explicitly ask what benefits you qualify for. Most people never ask, so they never receive. When you hit $45,000, call the bank and say you are a long-term customer building your relationship with them and want to understand what programs you qualify for. You'll be surprised what they offer when you simply ask. Banks want to keep money, and if you signal you are considering moving to a competitor, they'll often unlock benefits early. Fifth, as you grow your assets, educate yourself on the next level up. If you are approaching $250,000, start researching wealth management services before you get there. Interview advisors. Understand fee structures. Know what questions to ask. This prevents you from being taken advantage of and ensures you maximize the benefits when you cross that threshold. The worst thing you can do is hit a level and not know what you've unlocked. Look, the financial system wasn't designed with your success as the priority. It was designed to extract fees from people who don't understand it and provide advantages to people who do. But here is the empowering part. You can learn how it works. You can make strategic moves that put you on the other side of that equation faster than you think. Those thresholds that seem impossibly far away right now, they're closer than they appear when you consolidate, automate, and stay consistent. Every single person getting that red carpet treatment at the bank started with a first deposit. The difference is they understood that building assets at one institution creates compounding advantages beyond just the money itself. They knew that $50,000 unlocks fee waivers and better rates. They knew that $250,000 unlocks dedicated service and preferential pricing. They knew that $1 million opens doors most people don't even know exist. You deserve to have the financial system work for you instead of constantly working against you. You deserve to walk into a bank and be treated like your business matters, because it does. Understanding these 3 net worth thresholds is your roadmap. It shows you exactly where you are going and what unlocks at each level. Now you know what most people never figure out. If this information changed how you think about organizing your finances, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with anyone you know who is frustrated with how banks treat them. The more people who understand how this system actually works, the more people who can use it to build real wealth. You've got this. Start with step 1 today, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about the specific accounts you should open at each threshold to maximize your benefits. Let's build that wealth together.